Get the money, money. Who wants some money? Money. Get the money, money. Get the money. You must agree. We will give that money. You will see. No matter who you are. You must agree. We will give that money. Guaranteed. Get the money, 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 get the money.
We don't build anything.
No.
So if you got a client who bought stock at 8 and it now sits at 16 and he's all fucking happy, he wants to cash in, liquidate, take his fucking money and run home, you don't let him do that, okay? Because that would make it real.
So far in our Money Night Extravaganza month, we've gotten financial advice from Gordon Gekko, the financial raider and trader on Oliver Stone's Wall Street. And we've slummed it up in the real estate office of Mitch and Murray, where he talks about Glengarry Glen Ross. Both of these movies have been fictional stories, even if they came from a very real spiritual place. For the rest of the month, however, we're going to be dealing with real stories from the world of finance. Starting tonight with Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street. The Wolf of Wall Street actually takes place in a not-so-different time than Wall Street. Jordan Belfort's time as a broker at L.F. Rothschild's corresponds to the Black Monday financial crash we talked about occurring a few months before the movie Wall Street. And one day, the Dow Jones dropped 508 points on October 19th, 1987. In The Wolf of Wall Street, that just happens to be the same time that Jordan Belfort would go on to start the over-the-counter pink sheet brokerage house Stratton Oakmont in 1989 and got in his Series 7 pass and officially became a licensed broker. In the film, it's within the same month the economy suddenly tanks, leading to the closure of L.F. Rothschild. This leaves Jordan a flounder until he discovers a world of barely regulated pink sheet penny stocks, getting a job at a Long Island company called Investor Center that he later buys out to found Stratton Oakmont, a name that sounds respectable and fancy.
So, where are your Quotrons?
Quotrons?
Yeah, computers.
No, we don't even need computers here. We just trade right off the pink sheets here.
Pink
Yeah,
sheets?
they're penny stocks. Companies that can't get listed on NASDAQ, they don't have enough capital, their shares trade here.
Penny stocks?
In order to sell these penny stocks to richer clients. In reality, many of these stocks are just used for pump and dump schemes, inflating the price and then pulling the money out while it's high and letting the rest crash.
Look, I know you're not following what I'm saying anyway, right? That's okay. That doesn't matter. The real question is this. Was all this legal? Absolutely fucking not. But we were making more money than we knew what to do with.
Crash. The most notable of Stratton Oakmont's clients is the women's shoe company Steve Madden, which Stratton gets to take public as an IPO, which is bought up by Jordan's friends and co-workers. In The Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio plays Jordan Belfort, and Jonah Hill plays Donnie Azoff, although Belfort's real co-founder was named Danny Perush. The real Danny hated the way he was portrayed in Belfort's book and the movie, and tried unsuccessfully to sue before ending up at the premiere.
You're fucking doing this. You're out of your fucking mind, shit, bro. No one's fucking here, bro. Get the fuck smoke crack with me, bro. Fucking smoke crack. Smoke some fucking crack with me, bro. One hit, that's it.
This film also brought Margot Robbie to everyone's attention as Naomi, the Duchess of Bay Ridge, who gets married to Jordan as his second wife.
Yeah, but what? Married people can't have friends?
We're gonna be friends?
Yeah. You want to be my friend?
We're not gonna be friends.
Also starring is Matthew McConaughey in one extremely memorable scene, Jon Favreau, Rob Reiner as Jordan's dad, Mad Max, John Bernthal, Ethan Suplee, and Kyle Chandler as the FBI agent determined Jordan Belfort is a perfect Scorsese character, full of hubris, extremely charming. But the movie is coursing with toxic masculinity, egged on by many of the female characters, I will say, and the greed, excess, and constant criminality that Stratton Oakmont is engaged in, from pump and dump schemes and stock fraud and money laundering, completely debauched sexual escapades, to rampant drug use from cocaine to morphine to Oxycontin to Quaaludes.
I take Quaaludes 10 to 15 times a day for my back pain, Adderall to stay focused, Xanax to take the edge off, pot to mellow me out, cocaine to wake me back up again, and morphine, well, because it's awesome.
Leads to Jordan's quick and predictable downfall. Scorsese has been heavily criticized for showing the excess in such a spectacular and completely glamorous way, even as it's clear Jordan's end is coming. That makes the whole thing appear somehow worth it or appealing. The movie is truly a 3-hour adrenaline rush in a way that not many things are. The scenes we're exposed to throughout The Wolf of Wall Street are misogynistic, debauched, transactional. At one point, they throw a little person across the room. The Stratton offices are a nonstop party with whores, escorts, prostitutes. Jordan takes drugs throughout the whole thing. He owns a giant yacht, a helicopter, and a Lamborghini. He also fights constantly with his first and then second wives, traumatizes his child in multiple scenes, probably the hardest scenes to watch, is physically and mentally abusive. It's a nonstop stream of self-destruction, barely buoyed by money that buys him out of trouble.
See, for a brief, fleeting moment, I'd forgotten I was rich. And I lived in a place where everything was for sale. Wouldn't you like to learn how to sell it?
The prison Jordan ends up in is a minimum security rich person prison, which is probably why the whole thing doesn't seem so bad, why audiences sounded the alarm and the excess seeming almost worth it. But Jordan lost his broker's license and Stratton shut down in 1999. The central things that allow Jordan to make it in this world is the ability to bullshit, to sell whoever is on the other end of the phone, a skill he happily teaches a never-ending crew of sleazebags and scumbags, who in the end all betray each other, as they are stockbrokers, not the mafia characters who also end up always betraying each other. Although it may look and seem glamorous, we're the ones on the other end of the phone, and it's best to be remembered that's the case.
Sell me this pen.
It's a amazing pen for professionals.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Yabiga. A Balkan rockiest spirit, go to yabiga.com to order a bottle tonight. Anyway, before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Also, we are now monetized, so if you have any pressing questions during this live stream, send us a super chat, which helps me keep the show running, which I am obligated by international law, human rights law, to answer. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/movie night extra. All of our after parties are on there forever. We also have a new Discord and a Letterboxd HQ account, so those are two more places to follow along with us. Links are in the description. Okay, let me introduce the panel. Conan Neutron, host of Protonic Reversal, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, and frontman for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends has a new split LP with Lung, Adult Prom, available now on Bandcamp. Kristina Oakes is streaming on Twitch at Cosmopolitics, twitch.tv/Cosmopolitics. Also recently joined YouTube, she's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Cosmopolitics. Send her some subs on Twitch, and send her a coffee. J. Andrew World, illustrator, book cover artist, artist for Give Them an Argument, co-host for Movie Night Extravaganza, and Bad Takes. Ben Dixon is the host of The Benjamin Dixon Show, a progressive news and commentary show that airs on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I, of course, am the pink slip pump and dump master and your host, whose sad Quaaludes are discontinued, Forrest Miller. I ain't leaving because the show just started.
Indeed. Ben Dixon, welcome to the show, man. It's great to have you. Let's have you unmuted, and then we can get going with it.
Good call not letting me do the, oh, I'm so fucked up, oh, and then chopping on with my camera on going, yeah, you know what? I'm sober. ta-da, like Jonah Hill. I was
Yeah,
gonna do it.
true heads would be delighted, but everyone else would be annoyed. So,
Yes.
there you go. Ben Dixon, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm unmuted this time. It's Zoom. Everybody everybody
Broadcast
should be
professional.
Yes,
Exactly. He knows what's up.
Well,
It's great to have you, bud.
The office
We
looks
got-
really great. I mean, once the microphone works, it always looks
exactly.
We got the Naomi cosplay.
That's
here.
right. That's right.
I did
Here,
my
it's-
I did my best. I did my best.
I was saying before the show started that Kristina definitely has nailed with the wig want to see the manager vibes for sure. But of course, fantastic work by Kristina as always.
I feel like it's halfway between Naomi and Barbie. Like I feel like it's the morph between the two.
You can
of
do
them.
either one.
Yeah.
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 Better call him B. Sure. All right, that's all the time we got, folks.
But yeah, really excited to talk about this. This is like
that's never not funny to me, by the way.
This is definitely like in my top Scorsese movie catalog. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not up there with like Goodfellas or like Casino or anything like that, but it's definitely up there with like I think it's up there with The Departed for me.
Okay.
Like the second tier or the.
I mean,
you
no,
mentioned-
not the second tier, but like I wouldn't call it like in Scorsese. Like it's not like Raging Bull, right? Like it's kind of I don't want to put it in tiers, but like
Yeah, it's a bit like After Hours, which is like his only other comedy, right? Like I don't think he's done any other comedies besides these two, right?
does this qualify as I mean, it's funny, but does it qualify as a comedy?
Yeah.
Well, tragedy plus time equals comedy. So there you go. I guess a little time's
True.
passed, right? I mean, it's hilarious when it's meant to be hilarious. That's good. I think it's interesting. So Ben, we've been doing a month of these movies. We're kind of telling a bit of a story, if you will, of greed and avarice and sales at the expense of the little guy, et cetera, et cetera.
Wait, it's not about how greed is good. That's not.
It's about how all these guys are super cool and did nothing wrong.
Very cool dudes doing very cool things.
I
But
always
versus
say that-
Hookers and blow.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
Aspirational, some might say.
Yes.
But I saw Wolf of Wall Street kind of later than everyone else on the panel. Like I saw it just 2020, and I actually didn't realize at the time that I was like, oh, this is supposed to take place at the same time, more or less, as Wall Street into the 90s, which is what we started with, the Michael Douglas movie, the Oliver Stone movie, and it's such a different approach to ostensibly the same topic, which is just complete strip mining of the American populace for their money, right? And I'm curious. I know you were pretty stoked on doing this one. I'm curious what drew you to this one specifically, Ben.
Well, it's the combination of. I mean, the movie really is everything that America is, right? It really demonstrated the greed, the sociopathy, the debauchery that's all packaged up and sold back to us as something that we should aspire to. And I really appreciated that opening clip because the way you really dissected it really did promote and kind of make it seem, well, he didn't really do a whole lot of time. Maybe it was worth it. The whole time you're hoping that the message is, this is what's wrong with America. But I can rest assured that most people didn't get that message.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the 4 years, right? Like it's such a short stint, and I feel like it's put in stark contrast when you think about the fact that even them smoking crack, right? If you're like a Black American and you get caught smoking crack with like the crack cocaine disparity or whatever, like you're going to jail for longer than Jordan Belfort did.
That's right.
Yeah, it's played for laughs when Jonah Hill does it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the weird thing is that's how when me and Forrest first met in person. That's actually what we did. It's went out back.
It's a verbatim quote. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that it's
And I hadn't
notable
even
to-
seen the movie yet. I was
what was it? Was it Will Rogers that was like, there's no working class in America, just a bunch of temporarily embarrassed millionaires?
John Steinbeck.
Steinbeck. Okay, there you go. So
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
quote, wrong attribution. But
Well,
still holds true.
I mean,
era.
I believe Conan Neutron said no.
Well, and we talked about this yesterday when we watched it, like with in Discord or whatever.
In the watch party, yeah.
Like we talked about the fact that he's posing himself kind of as an outsider to Wall Street, and I feel like that's a very American part of the story too. Like this fake populism. That's like, bro, you're like a multi fucking millionaire, but the fact that he grew up middle class, not even working class, right? Like middle class in like a Jewish Queens neighborhood or whatever, like with a family that's accountants, like that makes him an outsider in his mind. And he's like, well, I'm sticking it to the big guys. And it's like, well, you're just pocketing the money. Like, and they have that quote in it from the Forbes article, which, I mean, it's ironic that it comes from a Forbes article for sure, but it's like he's a like kind of twisted Robin Hood, and he's taking money from the rich and giving it to himself into his own pocket.
Yeah, which is sort of like that's not what Robin Hood did, though.
Robin Hood famous for pocketing everything that everyone.
Yeah, he's known for doing it. Well, it's also notable that like this is around the time that the years and years of attack on institutions and frame-based reality that had been built up within politics led to the rise of Donald Trump. As the like, oh, this guy, no, he may be like a total dick, but like. I want to be a total dick like he is, and I feel like I may be one or two good breaks away from that happening.
Yeah. I was just thinking that one of the other things that drew me to this conversation tonight with you all is that we're actually living in a generation that grew up on this type of thinking, on these movies. Matter of fact, like, maybe they didn't grow up on it, but it shaped a lot of young men's minds as they were making up their minds about society. And we have this upside down thinking now. One day I had a guy come to my house to do some maintenance work, and the upside down thinking that he insisted on sharing with me was praise of billionaires as if they should be venerated because they have to be better people because they don't have the worries of money.
Sounds like every Uber ride I've ever had.
He must have watched The Wolf of Wall Street growing up.
Yeah, well, they had that,
and maybe missed the last 45 minutes too. While he's at it.
Well, even in his intro, when he's telling you who he is, right? He's like talking about money, and he's saying that you could save the spotted owl. You can't do anything good without money, and that's like the lie that gets told throughout all of these movies. But like. Right. That I can really do good for the world. It's the like enlightened altruism.
Yeah, but you're buying yachts and like
with helicopters on them. Yeah,
I guess you could say he did a lot of good for the sex worker industry, but I mean,
also too, like
he did not
sex work is work.
He did not discriminate. He had
for penicillin providers. Yeah, right. I mean, it's played for laughs, but
and also too, we got to think about what when this movie came out, Occupy Wall Street had fizzled out.
Yes, that's right.
So it's like, this movie came out at a pretty great time. However, it's as if, we didn't really learn much. Like, again, people think this movie glamorizes everything, but I'm like, we had a recession. A recession was still going on. Occupy Wall Street had just happened. It's almost as if this movie came out and people thought, hey, maybe it's not so bad to be on Wall Street. Maybe it's not so bad to like try to live like this guy.
Well, that is where they tried to occupy. I mean,
right. It must have been for a reason.
Going to occupy there if it was a bad place, right?
Which is why I think it's notable and obviously purposeful that we did this right after doing the Michael Douglas Wall Street and Glengarry Glen Ross, both of which, like, if you think these characters are cool guys, you've missed the entire point of this of the movie. Mm-hmm. But because there's multiple generations of this now, even though it's all kind of going back to that same well, but coming at it from a different way, again, there's people that like, I'm for this. And I want this life.
I'm sorry, but I was saying like,
no, have at it. Yeah.
These are the people who are running society. Like, they have the money to control any politician. So, we get what we grow up on and what we're fed. This is result.
It's funny because at the same time as getting ready for this, I'm reading Russ Baker's book on the Bush family, and like in the middle of it, he starts explaining how like a cutout company was used as one of these pink slip stocks that like Bush put a bunch of money into, and then they pulled the money out at the last second as like an intelligence cutout, and I was like, holy shit, this is the same time as Wolf of Wall Street. I'm like literally listening to this like like an hour after finishing the movie yesterday, like thinking about like how all of these, like, these are the companies we don't think about, the companies that are getting traded on these pink sheets, but like these are that's kind of it's a perfect thing for the people that do control society, or for whatever they need it for, like the money for, right? Like the money flows through these companies nobody's looking at them.
Inside information. I spent a good amount of time, it feels like it anyway, on Wall Street talking about the Keating Five and like how big of a deal that was, and because that was like literally actual politicians involved in a financial scandal, including St. John McCain, that was, that was one of the first times that like there was like direct implication of, and sort of like cracks in the wall. Like, well, of course they've been doing this for years, but this was just like outright. This is it wouldn't even be a blip on the radar now, but it like more or less ended a few careers and definitely stymied some presidential prospects at the time. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for McCain, right? Like
for a while, and he still did it. He still did. This was like 10 years later.
Yeah, and one thing I always point out is how like this is technically a Scorsese film, but when I watched it for the first time when it actually came out, like when it came on Blu-ray or whatever, back when Blu-rays were still loved and adored. Well,
I still celebrate them
in this house.
Yeah,
still celebrate.
And I remember watching it because I watched Goodfellas when I was like 10. And was like, immediately, this is like one of my favorite movies of all time. I remember watching Wolf of Wall Street, and I was like, this is a good companion piece to Goodfellas because it's Scorsese. It has the same type of style.
Yeah.
It's like how a guy was on top, and then he came crashing down for a minute because he's
and now he's on Fox News. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and just how like the narrative style. The editing style is very similar to that of Goodfellas. It's just a bit more raunchier because there was a lot of violence in Goodfellas because it's a gangster movie. That's how things were, especially way back then. But like with Wolf of Wall Street, there was just more sex, more coke-fueled orgy parties, more debauchery.
Yeah, just debauchery.
That's what,
right? Yeah.
I'm like, that's what kind of makes the movies, like different, gory in their own ways. Like you got the violence and you got all the sex.
Different crimes, different crime families, but same vibes. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you have the scene, and like I pointed out yesterday when we were watching, like you have the scene where literally they punch the gay butler guy, right? Like that steals the money from the house or whatever. They accuse him of stealing the money from the house. The guy finally decides after like a whole runaround where there's two different conversations going on at once. One of them is Jonah Hill trying to show that he's not gay. The other one is like Jordan Belfort trying to show that trying to get his money back. And then the guy finally just decides like, well, why don't I just hit him? And the blood spurts out of him. And then, Jonah Hill just starts throwing up outside of the thing. And it's like, yeah, these are not mafia guys. Like the crimes are similar, but like these are not.
They're trying too hard.
These are not like hard or like tough guys. I mean, they would be if they saw their own.
I mean, there was hard men earlier, but they are not
hard
men.
They left the night before. They got caught having the party.
There's a lot of bravado. There's a lot of image. There's a lot of fake it till you make it. I mean, like, and again, there's a corollary between like look at like the pump up scenes that the Belfort character does, compared to again people not recognizing the farcical nature of the Alec Baldwin speech in Glengarry Glen Ross. Same scenes. More or less, right? You have these, it's just like you have like a lot of people that more in Wolf of Wall Street, and they're like kind of like these these like hooting and hollering animals that they've been whipped into this frenzy that like even like when they bring the shoe guy, right, and they're like they don't want to hear about it. All
it's
they
the
want
most
to hear about
debauched office of all fucking time. Like literally.
I mean, like I will tell you, like I did work retail sales in the Berkshires, so like I've met a lot of these people.
I feel like any movie we watch, you're gonna say, this one time.
Yeah, but
this one time at band camp.
Yeah, but there's that hubris that like people really do like to throw their weight around just because like do you know who I am? Like, actually, yes, I do know who you are. And
there's no.
I actually worked in high finance, not doing high finance, and I don't bring it up on every show either. But like that said, like, I mean, he's right. It's true. Like, it's like there is, and it is sort of like a pack mentality, right? And it is kind of that strongest will survive, and like the most overly, machismo, misogynist, usually homophobic dude, always a dude, survives and becomes like the dominant creature on the floor, right? And that is a very real thing, and it's weird that it's weird but cool to see depicted more or less. Honestly, like Wall Street's pretty subtle comparison to this because this is like meant to be farcical, right? So it's sort of like this is Scorsese correctly determined that okay, if we want to tell this story, it needs to be so over the top that the people that know that this is like not role model behavior need to know that like this is meant to be laughed at. This is meant to be something that like, it's an uncomfortable laugh, but a laugh nonetheless. And still, as with everything, a bunch of dudes missed the freaking point and decided like, oh, that's cool. I want to be like that. Look at Wall Street Bets, right? Their freaking icon, again, we're talking about dumb money at the end of the month, is like a cartoon Jordan Belfort, like, you know, doing like the freaking, and it's like, what? Like, you're supposed to be what is, I mean, it's
well, I mean, like in a life,
it's hard to do satire is what I'm saying.
Well, in a life copying art, copying life kind of way. Pretty much everybody, because obviously these are like real people, from like Mark Hanna, the guy that you know, the Matthew McConaughey character, who he's in Dallas Buyers Club mode in that, but the actual guy is quite heavy. But Mark Hanna, at least in his middle age, he had a Twitter account right after Wolf of Wall Street came out and said, I was the one played by Matthew McConaughey. And he has like these tweet threads about like what he learned and like what actually happened in the movie. And then, you know, the same with Jordan Belfort, has made a fucking name for himself and probably like millions and millions of dollars at this point selling these classes on how to teach. I mean, you know, there's no,
he's Tony Robbins, like inspirational speaker.
Yeah, well, and there's no accident. Like con man, right? Is confidence man. Like you're selling yourself based on your confidence, and he is very confident. I mean, he's kind of
which is why it's so great. They have when they show the commercial being filmed, and like the FBI comes and gets him. Like right,
he's like, oh my god, I love it now. I've been sober for 2 years.
But that's the thing is what we're dealing with now is with these kinds of people and what they're doing is that they are media aware. They're not only aware of that, you know, they were aware of personal brands for everyone was talking about personal brands, and they were doing it at that early state, and they can pivot in a way that it's like, oh yeah, I know who that guy is. He's real successful. It's like, yo, he totally like made a bunch of people like paupers at his, you know, to enrich himself. People remember that part. Like, oh no, he's real successful. Again, temporarily embarrassed millionaires, right?
Yeah.
But media aware ones, and that's what's different. And I think that's kind of the key to this, and what makes this the turning point for these style of movies and where we're at. That it's like they learned how to game the system in a different way.
Yeah. It reminds me again of all those parents who exploit their kids on TikTok for views and money. And it's like, you know, you're going to see like 10 years from now, TikTok's still around, those kids doing, get right with me while I tell you about how my mom exploited me for money.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say in 10 years those kids are gonna be, you know, members of the Chinese army. But I think that
Moving Extravaganza brought to you by TikTok.
brought to you by the CCP.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I think that the only difference between like then and now is how much more visual everybody is, right? Like everybody online, like whether you're making money off it or not, you're trained to see yourself or incentivized to see yourself as a brand. Like the show, like this podcast, right? The not really bringing in the big bucks, but like, you know, it's still everything you see. It's like branding, you know, like what's your branding? How do you market yourself? And you can't even put your thoughts onto social media without it being like, you know, think about yourself as a brand. But it's like, but I think that has permeated down from, I mean, the one thing that has fucking trickled down, like the marketing terminology and the marketing, like everybody as a marketer, right? Like everybody is now maybe not a temporarily embarrassed millionaire. They're like a temporarily embarrassed marketing consultant.
Or temporarily embarrassed Instagram influencer.
Well, and look at actual Jordan Belfort, like got on the news and like talked about how he thought that like the dumb money, the GameStop thing was like a great thing, and here's all the reasons why, this and that. Basically, sort of like doing the same thing Karl Rove did, of just like, oh well, I'm well versed on this topic, and everyone should listen to me. I'm like, well, you're well versed on it because you did all these dark arts, man. That's why you're well versed in it.
I mean, you know, like it's like who's better to talk about fucking, you know, things that are happening in the drug world than a drug dealer, right? Like,
we tracked down Voldemort to talk about, you know, okay, fine, you know, sure.
But like something that I noticed, because you know, I just started streaming on people's like shows when the Reddit GameStop thing happened, and he suddenly popped up everywhere, like Jordan Belfort on Fox Business, on CNBC, on all of these financial shows, you know, the worst ones that give you the worst tips for everybody. And he popped up on all those shows, and he was talking about how, you know, they're outsiders, they're populists, like me. And that like me is very important, right? Like that's putting his own brand.
It's a rebrand.
Like, you know, these are guys that are,
that's how he sells himself.
Yeah. But I'm saying that, like, you know, no matter what happens in the news, right, he's still marketing his own thing. And it's like very clear that that's what he's doing and very transparent. And I'm sure it still worked. but it's like it's still very transparent that he's like, well, these people are really gaming the system just like I game the system and stuck it to the system. Don't worry about the fucking collateral damage. That's just this is dollars and fucking
this is how you get people who have all the trucks that they want to buy. And have you seen the picture of the video of the Donald Trump flags? They had like 100 flags all hitched to all of the heavy duty trucks, right? They have homes, they have 401ks that are probably doing healthily, right? They have health care, they have everything that they could possibly need, but they still feel like they are the outsiders, that they are the ones that are oppressed, that they are the ones that are the populace. And they've really convinced themselves of this all the way down the hierarchy of the powerful. Like you all are literally the powerful, and you're pretending that you're an outsider. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Still the victim. Still not happy.
Yes.
But it's like a difference between like the successful ones, right? Like they're the victims, but they're also showing you that like, oh, we can lead you because we can show you how to successfully stick it to the powerful. And it's like, you mean
it depends on the conversation. The logic shifting is incredible. It's
your
drunk dad logic is what I call it.
Your country club friends, like you're trying to like, do you have a beef with them? Like
yeah, exactly. But it somehow fits, again, frame-based world, right? And that's the world of which the movie came out in, and I think it's very deft in approaching that because again, it's a completely different approach than Stone did with Wall Street because that was a completely different time. That was literally before the Black Monday, like it came out that year, which is crazy and like wild. But like remaking that movie or making that or even making a sequel to it that of course we will not speak of, it's not going to hit the same because it's a different media culture and you have a different type of engagement with media. So to have the salacious and more debaucherous stuff that Kristina was talking about, which is I'm for, it's great, that's some of my favorite stuff, it's awesome, but like it's sort of like, all right, here's a spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down.
Honestly, I'm glad Gen Z was not around really to experience this movie when it first came out because I could not even imagine the discourse surrounding all those all the debauchery. They'd be like, this is too much, this doesn't move the plot. I'm like, there's a scene between Leo and Rob Reiner where they're talking about women's pubic hair for like 5 minutes. It's fine.
That is the real conversation people have. They're like, there's no more bush out there, and it's like really.
They all died.
I never want to hear.
The only damn Bush was in the White House for a while.
I never want to hear Rob Reiner talk about any fucking genitalia ever again, though. That's a little bit too much. No, but like at the same time, with that, right? Like we talked about like Emma Stone and Poor Things, and the fact that in this movie, right, like Margot Robbie going full frontal, she chose to do that. Like Scorsese said, hey, you don't have to do this, you can be in a bathrobe, you can be kind of in a slip, or you can be something, like we'll figure it out, you don't have to. And she was the one that actually said like, no, like this is my, like this character, like her body is her currency pretty much in this. She's kind of selling herself to him in this moment, the same way that everybody's selling something in this movie. And she said like, I want everyone to see the body as that in the scene,
right?
And that's how she got cast as Harley Quinn, by the way.
Well, yeah, and because she's brilliant, because she's really like you do what you can to, again, in the model role, you do what you can to get attention. But then the question is what you do after that, because again, she's very smart lady. She saw what happened to like Sharon Stone and many beautiful women of the past that just like, oh no, TNA is all this is, and she managed to pivot that into something much smarter and more profound and like push forward actual art.
Yeah, she's kind of gone the Helen Mirren route.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean,
it's funny because again, like I have an uncle who's like, yeah, I can't get over this Barbie thing because I saw her do that money shot with Wall Street. I can't get it out of my head. I'm like, she's played like Queen Elizabeth. I'm like, she's done so many other roles since Wolf of Wall Street. Like, why do we still see her as like this 22-year-old like blonde with a fake tan and tits? Like, I don't understand.
It is funny though
because they're replaying that scene is why.
Yeah.
I had a hard time at first shaking her as Tanya, because that movie was so like I feel like she slipped into like the Tanya Harding role so much that I was like,
she was so good.
Like at first seeing her in other movies, I was like, where are her skates? Like,
No, but I think it's notable because, and I think it's important because, yeah, it's a character development trait that she used to, again, it works well in this movie because this movie's outsized. This movie's everything is like just like big, noisy, bloviating excess all over the place. Look at the freaking scene with like when the Quaaludes kick in, man, and like, with Shield goes, by the way, the whole thing where he rolls down the stairway and everything, gold. You're not laughing at that. I don't know what's wrong with you.
He's gonna really feel that in like a decade though. Like,
and then he's like, got away clean or whatever he says, and then you like see like the cutaway and it's like the car's all jacked up. It's got like tree branches all over it.
One of the things on Amazon that popped up like as a tag that we were talking about yesterday, or as like because they do like the hints about the movie or whatever, or like facts about the movie. He did the entirety of that scene down to the part where he put his foot up on the car door and opens the door with his foot, like the butterfly door. He did that in one take because
it's one shot.
He did the roll and then fucked his back up on the way down and he was like, look, I can do it this one time, I can't do it again. So they shot that one take and thank God it fucking worked the way it did.
Yeah, eat your heart out, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Or Bradley
Leo spent 7 years trying to make this movie work. He was producer on it. He was the guy that was pushing Scorsese.
He bought the rights to the book.
Yeah, Scorsese didn't even necessarily want to do this movie, and he was like, I don't know, There was like a long pause, and Leo was like, I want to do this movie.
Yeah, this was also a few years after Inception, and from what I heard from Christopher Nolan's experience with Leonardo DiCaprio is that him and Leo kind of, in regards to the script, and he was making Chris Nolan do a lot of script changes allegedly.
Because he's used to working, I feel like because he's used to working with people like Scorsese, where it's like a creative collaboration to the point where he
doesn't have that. It's not like him and Cillian Murphy, like they don't got that. They never got that bond going.
Well, we made it 37 minutes without you bringing up Cillian Murphy.
Everybody take a shot.
We got to get a Murphy watch graphic where it's just like.
But I was just saying, like
MSNBC style, it just pops up.
But you can just tell that, like, and there's always this competition between De Niro and DiCaprio because of there's even a little sketch of them like making fun of like, I worked with with Marty 10 times. 10 times I worked like. De Niro and DiCaprio always, in that skit, they're like butting heads on who works with Marty the most or who's his favorite. And what's interesting too is that I honestly thought Robert De Niro would have been a good casting choice for Rob Reiner's role as the father. Because
better than Rob Reiner, I feel like.
I don't know. I think Rob Reiner was great. Come on, Rob Reiner was great.
So first of all,
it's just really hard to hear.
First of all, let's let Kristina finish her point. But then
because De Niro and DiCaprio do have a history of doing a film together where, not ironically, he played an abusive stepdad towards Leonardo DiCaprio from like the early 90s. That was when Leo was starting up his career. But I think that would have been an interesting thing for them to do together. Now that Leo's more of a well-seasoned Academy Award nominated actor, and De Niro and Scorsese having that history together in films too, because it's like they're always going to be compared now that DiCaprio's like the next De Niro because of the fact of all these collabs that they're doing. I don't think they're going to stop doing these collabs, DiCaprio and Scorsese.
Yeah. Well, that's why De Niro was the one that introduced Leo to Scorsese, for the like Gangs of New York or whatever. Like for that movie, he said, "Hey, I worked with this kid as like his father in this movie, and like he's a really great actor.
It's a boy's life or whatever it was."
Yeah.
And he's like, you got to meet him. So he like kind of ushered in his own decline there with Scorsese for a while.
So real quick before we get out of this conversational cul-de-sac, I think Rob Reiner in this is great because first of all, it's unexpected.
Yeah,
because we're talking about think about culturally where Rob Reiner is. He was Meathead in All in the Family.
He was pulling Archie in this movie.
And the idea of placing him again, like as like think of his age, right, and think of like the people that grew up watching him in that role and having him be in that role. First of all, like hilarious anger management issues, but I think that's perfect because that's like a level set that you're like, oh, I wouldn't expect to see that dude doing that.
It is really perfect. It's really hard to hear him talk about Bush.
I mean, everybody.
Well,
take another shot.
Come on, man.
As Mr. MSNBC himself. Yeah, I
I'm
get
amazed he didn't call in the movie. He should have called him Meathead just to be like, some character inspo right there. We know where he's going with this.
Then someone could Leo me mad at, and then Inception would really occur.
Yes.
I think the other thing too is like it's great to see Rob Reiner play like a kind of a
against
not really
type
villainous. Yeah, against type is a good way to go with it. But he was actually played a villain on Stargate Atlantis. Which was
did he really?
kind of fun, actually. You know, yeah.
There it is, Stargate. Mark the time.
Yes.
40 minutes.
we got to start having a competition. Will Kristina bring up Cillian Murphy, or will Andy bring up Stargate first? And then we got to time it out.
So everybody take another
place
shot.
bets on it. That'll be great.
But Ben, I want to move this conversation along and ask. When did you first see this? Did you see it like right when it came out, or did you see it?
No, I think I saw it during the pandemic, to be honest with you.
Oh, word. Me too. Oh, cool.
Yeah, somewhere around 2020 as well. Yeah. No, and I was, you brought up Inception, but and Conan, you actually said something earlier about the cut scene that went from he thought he made it home safely, and then the Lamborghini was just completely totaled.
Yeah.
I think that was a motif through the whole movie, though. The one thing, if people actually paid attention to it and didn't really just get distracted by all of the debauchery, because it was, I think the debauchery was part of the storytelling, but you can't separate a man's mind from all the breasts we saw in the movie. All right. So there's a lot of people who missed the point because of that. But if they didn't miss the point, they would see that it was all about perspective. It was all about the image that he built in his mind around every aspect of his life, including his wives, both of them. Right. He had a perspective in his mind that he thought it was one way, and then he found out the hard way that that's literally what it was not. And so I think if people really tuned into that part, they would see that Lamborghini scene was just kind of like the crown jewel moment of perspective, where he had completely lost it the whole time.
Yeah, no, I think that's very astute, because again, that's working on the level that Scorsese is being like, I'm going to give the audience credit that they can figure this out.
Yes.
Yeah. Like it's too perfect for the scene to actually like go the way he thought it would. Like
yes,
yeah. It also gives you the divergent narrative from the very beginning, where he's telling you the story, and he's like, no, my Ferrari was white, it was white, not red, and then it changes color, and you realize from that he's already like changing the what you're seeing on screen as he tells you the story, and you're like, and a lot of the time, and I think that this probably serves a double purpose of like, number one, telling you this, but also not instructing people on how to do financial crimes, I'm sure, but every time he gets to the point where every time he gets to his big financial crimes, right, like a lot of the time he says like, well, here's what I did, and then he kind of changes it, and he's like, well, you don't care about that, right? Like, he's already moving you along as an audience. He's trying to sell you something in that moment too.
Right, meta-contextually, right? Like as like part of the story, like in that same way that you're jumping way ahead when he's talking to the English aunt, and he's like, is she hitting on me? And then like, and then she's like, is he hitting on me? Like, because it's the kind of thing that, of course, if you have like a modicum of interest in human relationship, like you'd be thinking that yourself, like, this is kind of fraught, like kind of like interesting. And then they say it, and it's like, oh, okay, so it's like that. All right, and I think that works. And there's some people that were kind of put off by that, but I think it works great. Not the least of which is because it's Martin Scorsese.
Yeah,
like how far afield are we from like Mean Streets with this? Like
it's also
literal decades.
It's also the only other time that you hear somebody else's voice in this narration is her saying, "Is he hitting on me?" Which is kind of fascinating.
There's that scene with him and the Swiss bank dude, and they're like,
oh yeah, him too. Well, it's
the telepathy scene. Yeah. Suddenly they're both X-Men.
The opening narration is also a different voice.
Yeah. Well,
it's a lot of it.
That's from a commercial, isn't it?
Yeah, that's from a commercial. A lot of it is but like it's whenever he meets somebody on his wavelength within this like criminal universe, right? Like they do have the telepathy moment with the banker guy and Aunt Emma, who's helping him with his financial crimes with the Swiss banker guy. Definitely slept with the Swiss banker guy, I feel like, because the first thing he says is, "I'm sorry to hear about your very attractive aunt," or something.
Yeah.
right. But I think going back to one of Christina's earlier points about Goodfellas, right? The whole thing with Goodfellas is it's from Henry Hill's perspective. When you hear narration, it's always Henry Hill, and I think the fact that the perspective,
Aaron from time to time.
yeah, but perspective like shifting and being like used as like a tool, a narrative function to get across an idea in a very long movie, more than just being like, oh, this is the narration is like part of like the thing that like this is a good example of him using his own tools that he has in his toolbox from previous films and reapplying in a way that kind of messes with your perception of what you might expect from a Martin Scorsese movie.
Yeah. And also, of course, Margot Robbie got her accent from listening to Lorraine Bracco in Goodfellas too. So
right. Sure. Yeah.
Got to get that down.
Steal from the best.
It's interesting that the script for this is written by Terrence Winter. Whereas like, the Goodfellas script is written by Scorsese and, at least co-written by Scorsese, and this is Terrence Winter is Terrence Winter is the guy who wrote Sopranos and who wrote Boardwalk Empire, like a lot of the episodes of it. So like,
that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah,
you can already see like the connections there between like he's definitely doing his version of like a Goodfellas type script for Scorsese.
Yeah. Which I think is brilliant. Again, when I was watching this, I was like, oh my God, it's giving me Goodfellas, even though giving was not like a phrase to say back in 2013. But like, I was like, yeah, I was seeing the similarities.
You were the first person to say it. In
Yeah.
2013, you were watching this and you said, it's giving Goodfellas. And since then, everyone's just been copying you the whole time.
I know. Don't get
we're saying it more and more, especially in this show right now. Yeah. Well, but also, I think it works in the way that it's a very much a movie in the 2010s about like an earlier time depicted in a certain way. And I think that that's actually one of its strengths, which honestly, first time I saw it, I thought was one of its weaknesses. But now having seen it, like, I think the third time I've seen it now, I'm like, okay, no, I get what he's doing here, which is that it's packaging some of the same messaging, but in a narrative that is, if your film watching acumen is more than like an inch deep, you're going to be able to get like the more deeper parts of this. And that, again, to put it bluntly, this is not role model material. But by the same token, he was willing to take the risk. There's going to be people that miss the point entirely, because any major work of art, there's always someone. There's people that like, when did Rage Against the Machine get so political? My man.
Grandpa, I love Rage Against the Machine.
From their first song on their first record, maybe? I don't know. Just throwing it out
they
there.
formed the band.
Yeah.
Isn't this like a perfect example of politics right now? Right?
Right. Yeah, totally.
Literally every single issue that we're fighting against is we're fighting against people who have completely rewritten their reality based on some completely upside down experience that never happened. Like Rage Against the Machine was always political, right? And but then we look today and we have people who insist that, oh, the election was stolen, or any number of just climate change is not real, or any number of absurdities. We go one by one, and they all model that kind of just completely upside down revisionist history that they believe their own lies now.
Right. Yeah, it's a self-deception on the level of becoming a motivational speaker, say.
Yeah. Well, and I think to become a Jordan Belfort, you have to at some point the lies. You have to start believing your own lies, right? Like at least to the point that your money is better in my pocket than your pocket. It's like you're just some fucking schmuck on the street. I'm Jordan Belfort, but he has that mindset going into it, even as far back as he's on like Long Island. There's like a really quick fucking learning broker, right? Like from the beginning, he has the mindset that like your money's better in my pocket, and he I'm sure he truly believes that
in all aspects of things too. Like look at the internal logic of the constant and consistent stepping out that he does with every woman in his life all the time. And he's got a rationale for all of it. It all makes sense. He's got an internal narrative that it all makes sense for. Yeah, exactly.
As long as he's got that penicillin ready to go, he's good.
That's my favorite one. I didn't know you were home. I'm sorry. That was your excuse?
But then 2 scenes later, the butler says the same thing. He says, I didn't know you guys were coming back tonight. And the butler turns that back on him too. Like,
Right, yeah, absolutely. No, it's
Man,
but Ben, what were you gonna say?
Oh yeah, no. You I just want to contextualize what you guys just got through saying. Now, these people are confident in their delusions, to the point of becoming personal, motivational speakers who all understand media training, and they are all branding themselves, and it's trickled down to every single one of them. We're not just talking about the guys who are stars of Wall Street now. We're talking about, maintenance men who are coming by proselytizing their vision of reality. They have a culture now, and it's a wild one.
Yeah, well,
and it's one without anything diffusing the frames within it too, and that's probably the biggest problem that we're facing.
The biggest danger too. Yeah.
But it's one that also like exalts like an everyman, but like everybody can be an everyman, right? Like you could be an everyman millionaire stockbroker, you could be an everyman fucking real estate developer turned politician, you could be anybody can really be an everyman. And I think that's like a hallmark of fucking right wing politics at this point.
Right. Well, and that's the same thing where, like, again, and just tying into our capstone for the month, we're going to do dumb money, right? Like, Belfort was all over the Wall Street Bets thing. And again, just trying to game off the fact that, oh yeah, that dude, he's good with money or something. Like that level of acumen, which is a none whatsoever, to have him be in a position where he's talking as a guy that gives mainstream credence to a populist. The closest you get to a populist movement within finance, which is to say, like, you really can't do that, but the closest thing you can say to it.
And the thing is, these finance or these Fox Business and CNBC and whatever have you, like any of those like marketing, finance, news channels, they always get these guys who've been caught with fraud, committing major fraud, doing crimes but not being gay while doing them, and like I'm like, you're gonna depend on these guys to like I'm like, can you actually like get guys who are like maybe smarter than these guys? Like I know they get dumber over.
It gets dumber and dumber over time, right? And as they start playing into
how you doing, by the way, Kristina? You good?
Well, you jumped up. No, but like as you go through this whole like the culture war and like what they've told themselves about the culture war, right? Like kind of seeps in, and it makes everybody dumber within that space. Like anybody participating in it,
like pack animals, right? Like look at all the pump up meetings, and I mean go back to like the shoe guy who's trying to like tell them like, oh, this is our big seller, blah blah blah, and they don't want to hear anything about it. All they want to hear is like kill, like to
give
use
us the money,
director. Yeah,
which I totally forgot about those shoes. By the way, I remember those commercials once they mentioned. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. They were all over the place.
They're still out there. I mean, they still have them at like Marshalls and shit.
Sure,
I'm sure.
They're the penny stock of women's shoes. They're the penny stock of women's shoes. They have them at Marshalls and like TJ Maxx and all those places.
Yeah, that's why I get it with pink slips.
I had an ex-girlfriend that really liked buying shoes, so I know that.
Shoes. Speaking of animals, the movie has a lot of controversies regarding the use of animals in this movie. And this was coming at a time when Hollywood was reconsidering using actually live animals in film. Maybe using CGI. A lot of people, like there's this one organization called Friends of Animals, and PETA were like, how dare you psychologically traumatize a chimpanzee and force them to know how to roller skate and all this, like using a real life for like the logo for the commercial, snakes, goldfish, even though the guy said, yeah, I just swallowed a goldfish one time. Also too, one of the producers got arrested recently a few years ago for like committing like big like financial fraud as well. And of course the major controversy is like, oh, the excess and glamorizing all this behavior and whatnot. But like when I learned about the animals thing, I was like, oh yeah, I remember it was kind of we were coming at a turning point in like the early 2010s about like the use of animals in film. Because when I was watching it, I was like, oh, there's a lot of like live animals in this movie. How are they being treated? Of course, a lot of people were like, oh my god, they're being treated horribly. One had to live with Leo for 3 weeks and learn how to roller skate. The horror.
And then the animal turned 25 in dog years, and he kicked it out. And
Yeah. He went pro for a while, actually. Wow.
Yeah.
Kristina, I love how you contextualize the time that the movie came out in, because I mean, I guess that's it should be a standard part of film critique. Probably, I don't know anything about film critique, but I do know that's like possibly a solution to the memory hole problem that we have in society. Because as I hear you guys talking about it, I'm like, okay, no, I can contextualize where I was when I actually saw The Dark Knight, you know, and then I realized what was going on politically around there. So I think that's a brilliant thing that you guys do on this show. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, first of all. We appreciate compliments on this show. Thank you for that. No, but I think it helps everyone understand film in a way that when things challenge, you must ask why it challenges, and when things titillate or entertain, we maybe should ask that as well. And all those things can happen at the same time.
Yeah, and plus, it's good to know what the climate was at the time and what the atmosphere, what the trends were going. Because
look, the facts are out on climate change. That's all I got.
Yeah, obviously, but it's good to know, Occupy Wall Street had just happened,
right.
and
huge.
It was still fresh in people's mind when this movie came out. And yet again, we didn't learn a goddamn thing clearly, because look where we are now.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. the other thing that I feel like really contextualized, like thinking this through, like bling rap, like that kind of style of like early like early 2010s rap music, and pop music, right? Like Black Eyed Peas, like everything was like I Got a Feeling, or like like Right Round,
that's my song.
Or like early Drake, you know what I mean? Like all of that.
All that white girl rap, yeah.
But no, but like
that old, my God.
It's all promoting success. It's all about partying. It's all about getting fucked up. It's all about living life, like throwing money, like all of that kind of stuff.
That goes back to them being terrified of Public Enemy, and being like, oh, we can't possibly, no, we got to get this out of here. This is not good for us.
NWA, yes.
Yeah. But it's interesting that that's happening at the same time as Occupy Wall Street. Right? Like people are just starting to become extremely concerned in the moment about income inequality, because they finally have a Democrat in the office that presumably cares about that issue.
Little did we know.
But it's interesting. There's like this dichotomy, and I feel like this movie kind of perfectly represents this dichotomy. Because they're giving you one message, and then you're seeing another message on the screen throughout the entire thing that people can take. They're like, oh, the excess is so fucking awesome. The drugs, like the money, the fucking hookers that he's paying off. And even as they're telling you, this
cool guys doing cool guy stuff. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It also,
it was a prelude to
the lewds.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah. What did you say, Ben?
It was a prelude to this top G culture that's now it's the primary model for influencers to make money. Just you got to have a Lamborghini by the time you're 25. Okay, who says who? I guess Wolf of Wall Street, maybe.
These very kind of hollow trappings of success, right? Because you can
cultural signifiers almost.
Yeah, you can work at your house or whatever and somehow scrape enough money up to buy a nice car and still live in a fucking shit job and a shit life. Like that's not going to improve your life in any way. But there's an
as long as you're on the grind, that's all that matters.
Yeah, with the running guy emoji.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And what of the cycles? Like when in the opening clip of it, it just reminded me of how many crashes we've gone through, just in our lifetime, but even since the Black Monday. Like it really just, I don't know if the movie intended to highlight the cyclical nature of the absurdity of Wall Street. Like somebody's going to get stuck with the bag at the end of this cycle, and but they managed to glamorize their way right past that truth.
Yeah,
that's the temporarily embarrassed millionaire. As long as you're not holding the bag, you just envision
that's it.
What I mean, like you just envision yourself not holding the bag, and then you're like, well, I'd be smart enough that if I had this, portfolio, this wouldn't happen to me.
I'm built different. Yeah.
That's it.
That's why I always think about that Robert Downey Jr. clip from like '93 where he's on Wall Street and he's like holding himself like this because all these guys are up like yeah, and he's like, these are the most pretentious, obnoxious motherfuckers I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, I can like that's kind of, I mean, it's almost embarrassing to be like that guy that's like, yeah, you know, like doing all those things and, you know.
Well, it's cult. It's a cult, right? I mean,
Yeah.
more than anything, it's cult-like behavior. It's called a cult. Like the fact that it's approved by like some of the biggest fiscal giants of the driving of the world economy doesn't make it any less cultish. It's exactly what it is.
And I've been thinking a lot about this throughout this like, you know, this month, but like the idea of money as something that's like imaginary, and then these guys being the people that are passing off the imaginary thing, right? Like there's this like they're talking about it in I mean, both in this movie, in the scene with Mark Hanna, the Matthew McConaughey character, and in Wall Street, they kind of purposely echo each other. Where it's like, we don't create anything, we don't build anything, we don't manufacture anything. It's the schmucks out there that, you know, we're selling this shit to, like, you know, the penny stocks to, at least, that are building and creating all this stuff. We're just transacting the money, and we need to get as much money as possible. And you never want to make it into a real tangible thing, because once it's a real tangible thing, you have to admit that the entire system is built on a house of cards.
Ooh, that's
and then there's going to be a loser. Well, and that's the same thing of like, you know, the money's better. It's better with us. It's better that it's with us, like, because we know what to do with it, right? And that, again, that internal rationalization too, which is the idea that someone's going to do it.
This is I'm enjoying this. This is so. I gotta watch this show more often. The level of analysis is so brilliant down to and then just the framing. But here's one thing I want to just scare everybody.
Forrest, clip that.
I want to sit down, just be a fear monger here. I just want to sound the alarm. You know what these people are doing now, though? The skill set, they're not just media savvy and branding all the way top to the bottom, but they now have co-opted social media as well as social movements. So now they know how to organize these sociopaths, the people who really believe, the people who didn't get the message of the Wolf of Wall Street, right? They now know how to organize, and they took down allegedly, you know, Target or Anheuser-Busch or whatever. They know how to move as a cohesive block, and the belief system underneath it is the sociopathy of the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
but it's never any and it's never any like movements, or it's never any like ideas that would take money away from them, right? Like it's never going to be never going to be any kind of social.
You're not going to raise taxes, not even 0.1%.
Get out of here.
And like, I feel like that's, I mean, from the very beginning of like you know, the idea of demagoguery. You know, like you fearmonger about something, you fearmonger about some cultural issue that's not really that important. And you can really fucking get yourself into an authoritarian position of power. And I feel like the Jordan Belfort character, he's created his own kind of world in this. And the only reason I think that he really gets taken down by, you know, the FBI really looking into him is that he's not necessarily one of these big Wall Street firms that comes out of it. Like, 'cause I don't think they're trying to like look at like a Goldman Sachs or something like that, you know what I mean, and like pull the guys out of there. They're trying to look at if you're enough of an outsider. Like he's enough of a kind of scapegoat for a lot of things that are happening throughout all of Wall Street, and he thinks that he's playing the system when he tells the FBI guy, he tells him, like, I can tell you all these things that are happening on Wall Street that you might not know. I could kind of be like your inside informant and, you know, take down my enemies. But that's not his enemies, right? Like they zero in on somebody like that, and then they could like, you know, parade him around. Especially, I mean, because this is happening in the 90s and the fucking 80s, right? Like this is happening at a time when like they're not really looking to, you know, parade these guys around if they're in like these huge firms.
Never talk on a phone. Remember that. Never talk on a phone.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, and it also goes back to again, there's a rhyming with the rise of Donald Trump, and like the actions that did not come out of a vacuum. They started like in the early 90s as well, that allowed the frame-based reality to take place. Now, remember, at the time, Trump was like running around on Twitter yelling about Barack Obama's going to start a war with Iran, right? He was like trying to place himself as like some voice of reason at the time.
And having beef with your girl on Twitter too. Don't forget about that. That was the same year, 2013.
By the way, like in the chat was the movie based on Ivan Boesky. No, but Gordon Gekko, like that, that's one of the characters that they use for the insider trading story in the original Wall Street. That you know, that a lot of.
Oh, sure, yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
I got a question for Kristina. Like you studied cults. You know, you've been doing a big deep dive into Jim Jones, and how does this the world of you know, the selling of the salesman kind of connect to that.
Yeah, well, it's the difference. I feel like for like studying this is that it's the life that they are promised, kind of like how it was with Jonestown. You know, they're promised like, oh, we live in Jonestown. You know, we could do everything for ourselves. You know, we grow our own food. You know, build our own community. You know, educate ourselves and all that. But it doesn't turn out that way. See, these people on Wall Street, they think, you know, they can live this life of excess, that there's going to be absolutely no punishment. They look to a guy who they see has it all. He's good looking, he's charming, he's handsome. Because look at all the guys that Jordan was surrounded by. They were not, you know.
Yeah, they ain't winning no beauty contest. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, but everybody thinks that, like, yeah, they're like, if I grind hard enough, that'll be me somehow.
Yeah.
You know,
so it's like a cult of personality for sure.
Underpants gnomes logic, you know, to use South Park.
I mean, there's a saying: those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it.
Right. Well, and I wonder if Scorsese was like thinking about that when like making this movie too, because again, he had to get it over for basically a new generation, right? A new generation that all they know from Wall Street is greed is good, which isn't even the quote. It's greed is, for lack of a better term, good. And people only remember the quote. I'm like, yeah, but it wasn't like, again, cool guy doing cool guy stuff. It was like, here's the guy that's like basically engineering like the bankruptcy of this of this trade union's pension fund, like stealing what these working people came from, you know? And like, to put it in no uncertain terms, aided and abetted by his son, the Lesser Sheen. And it's amazing to me that got reduced to just a pull quote that was sort of like, again, like Born in the USA, right? If you listen to anything beyond the chorus of Born in the USA.
I mean, remember the movie Canadian Bacon?
Right. He started on that song because Bruce Springsteen is a family friend. I've never met the guy, but you know, he's good. You know, awesome. But again, so many conservatives use that song that drives me nuts.
Ben Dixon is one off air.
I'll be right back.
Okay. I was worried that the national anthem was going to start playing.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to get demonetized.
No, well, but again, that's the same thing. Like Reagan, like using that as a campaign theme, right?
Yeah.
And like, no, man, like, have you not listened to a single thing about like? Have you listened to the verses of this song?
Did you see today's big thing was conservatives are mad that John Mellencamp is political, and it's like
fantastic.
Have you never listened to a John Mellencamp song?
No, but I wanted something that you said kind of triggered something. I'm triggered now.
Everything is a Mr. Show bit now, by the way.
something, Conan, something that you said about kind of like triggered something in my mind. What you're talking about in Wall Street, right? Like he's trying to get the money, and he is trying to get the money out of the pension fund. That's the same kind of role that like a Jimmy Hoffa played, right? Like he was the one that controlled the team.
Look at the Irishman,
fund.
yeah.
And I think that there's a kind of supplanting of this kind of financial criminal. And the mafia. Now that the mafia is not really a big thing. I mean, you can literally be a QAnon guy and run up and plug a mob boss now, and like you can get away with that. Apparently, like that happened fucking during the pandemic. A guy ran up.
I wish the mob went to war with QAnon. That would have been so.
The guy ran up and plugged
yes.
the Gambino family, like a really like a boss in the Gambino family.
Yep.
Because he got convinced that something to do with his ex-girl. Never mind. That's not the important part. But I feel like
I mean, say what you want with the mafia. At least you have an understandable ethos. You know, QAnon. Jesus Christ.
But like I feel like these kinds of financial criminals, both in our pop culture, but also in life, right? Like have kind of supplant. Like by the time you get to the 80s, the mob is like, you know, kind of decimated enough by they got too close to the fucking flame, and they were used, you know, by the federal government when it required it. But by that point, they're kind of decimated enough that these kind of financial guys that are in suits, they're no longer, you know, I mean, I guess technically so are some mob guys, but they're no longer in wife beaters. They're now in fancy suits. And,
well, I mean, you know, let's not forget the mafia was the first thing that Giuliani ruined.
It's been
many things, including his own career. But like, it's a different kind of crime family, though. Just harkening back on that, right?
Yeah, and one thing I'll say about Rudy Giuliani, a lot of people are like, "Oh, New York is so." I'm like, the only reason why people go to New York City now is because Giuliani murdered all the homeless, and like, you know, bumfucks from like Ohio were no longer afraid to go to Times Square. Okay, that is it.
He didn't just murder the homeless. He said
I always joke about him being a vampire, but I don't know if he would like literally murder them.
He sent a
Thank
lot
you.
of them
Vampire Giuliani. It looks like shit. Thank you.
he sent a lot of them up an hour and a half to where I live. He put them on one-way buses to Newburgh, which is the city 15 minutes for me.
But
now
also,
Eric Adams is doing the same thing with migrants that need to get to court, and he's putting them on buses.
Speaking of the wife beaters, Nadine, who was the wife that Naomi was based off of, she has her own TikTok. She is a psychologist now, and she's gained quite a bit of a following for doing a deep dive on the movie. She has praised it, says that it's very accurate, though they kind of did tone down like what the abuse was, because she was like it was more of a recurring thing. But I watch her TikToks and I find them fascinating as someone who was going to be a psychologist as well. But she talks about like trauma bonding, trauma dumping, when she spot like red flags and whatnot.
She has books, Run Like Hell, A Therapist's Guide to Recognizing, Escaping, and Healing from Trauma Bonds, which she, whenever you like Google her name, she's kind of plugging that, which is its own form of like marketing and branding. Which is, she's gotten her own side of that down. It's just,
but I rather trust in her. I rather depend on. I rather like look to her for like than like him, because I'm like, you still should be in prison for what you did.
He's still fucking he's doing the same thing. He just isn't on Wall Street doing it, right? Like,
he co-opted himself into being an outsider somehow after being like the ultimate insider.
I'm sorry. Never mind. I'm sorry. It's just I'm amazed. Honestly, the people that we venerate, they're sexual abusers. They're allegedly,
allegedly. Thank you.
I just
that out there.
But the list of things that we really promote. And now these are the same people who are trying to tell us to follow their religion. It's a wild time to be alive.
Well, and there's people who are almost allergic to background research on things. Like it's sort of like I 10 years ago I was talking about, I wrote a song called The End of Memory, and we are truly at the end of memory now. It's like I was like, whoa, it was sort of like a watch out here, here's what may happen, Philip K. Dick kind of thing. No, we're straight up in the end of memory at this point.
Well, it's because in some ways, right? Like I feel like information is the commodity of the 21st century, like our main, and we've been flooded by so much information online. At some point, like it's like
it's the fire hose, right?
Yeah. And you're flooded with so much information. You don't know, where everything is, how to map it out necessarily. Like, and then people slip in as like, well, I can give you a narrative that makes sense from point A to point B in your mind because, I can get you through the information hole. Like, and then that's how you get stuck with somebody who's in their own fucking reality in this whole, base thing. And a lot of it, I think, is the fact that like the internet has flooded us with so much information. It's hard to like.
You need trusted sources, trusted authorities. So all you have to do is make yourself a trusted authority, and you're in like Flynn. Great.
Yeah, like a quick story about fraud. I think I told the story before, but like recently, one of my customers, she's a horse lady. She does horse shows and horse like management. She trains horses because where I live is very equestrian and all that. So like, someone took out $1,500 on like some concert arena. And so she's calling the bank, telling them to cancel. And she's like, I know who this like Ring Co. company is. And I'm over here, the curious millennial. I'm like, oh. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, that's actually the horse management company that you bought like tickets for. And she was like, fuck. So she basically canceled her credit card, and she had to keep that purchase because she had that purchase canceled. And I'm like, that's why you got to look into things. Like you got to, if you see a bogus charge, make sure that you didn't accidentally take it out, and make sure. I mean, Ring Co. That sounds like a horse company of some sort.
Yeah.
Boomers are so susceptible to.
I wouldn't know what that was, frankly,
stuff.
but I'm not a horse person apparently.
I went to the only
I'm just
college
curious.
that had a 4-year equine degree, and I didn't know that.
It's just I'm curious. My mom taught my sister and I to be curious.
My uncle's a centaur. I had no idea. Yeah.
To get us galloping out of this this conversational line. You want to do Letterboxd?
Yeah. So of course, Letterboxd is a social media site for film lovers who talk at, with, and to each other about the films they love, maybe the films they didn't love, maybe the films that they misidentified as a cultural role model. And of course, all of this is best expressed succinctly. You know, everyone gets to have their say, not just Siskel's and Eberts of the world. Everyone gets to opine, chime in, if you will. And this is best done succinctly, Ben Dixon. That I collect these every week. It's me. I don't have a team. I'm the one that does this. And we put them on the screen about the movie that we're talking about, and we all react to them and have a laugh, if you will. These are the Letterboxd one-liners.
Okay, Aunt Emma, calm down.
Letterboxd one-liners for Wolf of Wall Street. Let's go. We might run into some chop.
Some?
Dude, like the entirety of Jonah Hill's character, like he definitely watched every Scorsese movie to try to impress them before he got on, because his characterization has so much like he's like, we might run into some chop. What, you don't like chop? I'll chop your fucking credit card in half. He's hamming it up, and it works. It works really well. But he's
like he's trying to be Joe Pesci so bad.
Yeah, he's basically he's trying to be Pesci to De Niro, DiCaprio's De Niro. Yeah, thank you. But that is kind of, again, the classic understatement, how you think it is versus how it is, right? We talked about that earlier. I was like, we might run into some chop, and then like, you know, you see him freaking gaining over this wave,
and
and
the
like,
fucking plane blows up next to them as they're going down. It just literally, it's so quick, but that's an insane thing to happen, and that's like, I feel like, you know, you see them fucked up the whole movie. You see them with escorts.
It's like a throwaway sight gag.
All those things, and then that 1 second with the plane exploding, I'm like, that might be the craziest part to me. Can we go back to that?
Yeah. You run that back 30 seconds. Yeah. Barbie and the Buff. What's not to like?
Oh boy.
Barbie and the Buff. I feel like that's like a TV show. I feel like you could.
Nah, that sounds like a porno.
The weird thing is, though, it's like there wasn't a naked Barbie, and let's face it, like every little girl loses their Barbie's clothes.
Oh yeah, my Barbie's with scissor.
Do you have notes for Greta Gerwig now? Is that's going on?
Yeah.
Greta, I've got notes. The most obnoxious group of money-hungry, low IQ, high-energy, jackrabbit, fucking wannabe big-time, small-time shit-talking, bothersome, irritating, immature motherfuckers I've ever had to endure for more than 5 minutes.
Oh my God, Robert Downey Jr. came up with this.
And then they gave it 5 stars.
5 stars, right?
That is exactly what Robert Downey Jr. said in that video. That's perfect. Love it.
Maybe Sophie's is alt. Who knows?
And it probably is.
Smoke crack with me, bro.
No, thank you. I'm good.
I do think I think crack is like a cultural kind of thing in this movie is interesting though, because you don't often see like you know, like white people in positions of power in pop culture smoking crack. Like I feel like it's a way more working class kind of thing.
Crack
you
is whack.
usually think of crack as, you know, for poor people, and then there you see it's on Wall Street. That's a good perspective. Crack is whack is what I think of when I see that line.
I mean, it doesn't make crack look fun. I don't think.
Yeah, and then they go running. It looks like so wholesome.
That's like the one, like Quaaludes. I watch it and I'm like, I wish I was around for Quaaludes. Like all the other stuff, it's like, wow, that's like everything's kind of crazy. Crack is the one drug that is like, yeah, I would. Yeah.
The only thing higher than the stocks are the characters.
True.
The crash is the point.
Well, at least Goldfish Boy got the last laugh when they all got arrested by the FBI.
It's crazy that PETA let Jonah Hill put the fish in his mouth for 3 seconds. They had a stop clock going, and he had
3
to
second rule
out of his mouth out of the 3 seconds. Like, I feel like the fish is traumatized by that, right? Like that's the part that I would be worried about with the fish.
Yeah, fuck the chimpanzee. That goldfish was probably more traumatized.
Also, like, did they arrest the fish too? The FBI? Did they put like little handcuffs on the fish? I have questions.
He just keeps getting like slipping right out of them. I don't know.
I didn't realize that the rules for fish in movies was the same as when you drop food on the floor.
Yeah. It's the 3 second rule.
Exactly.
That's great.
And if it waits too long, it becomes a 5 second rule.
Someone explain this shit to me. How did Jordan have the most beautiful wife and still cheat on her almost every single day? Pathetic.
Amen. Yes.
The cheating doesn't look good. Like he doesn't look like he likes having sex in the right. Like it's
with her.
with like he's using it as a drug in the same way he's using everything else as a drug. Like
it's an asset. She's an asset, like everything else to him.
Because his dominatrix does not look like a lot of fun, especially whenever she vetoed his safe word.
Yeah, I didn't even know they were allowed. I didn't even know they were allowed to do that.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Stop flexing your muscles, Jordan. You look like a fucking imbecile.
Wait. Stop flexing your muscles, Jordan. You look like a fucking imbecile.
There you go.
Her delivery on that is flawless. Like everybody in my family lives on fucking Long Island, so it's / fucking like Queens / that whole fucking Brooklyn area. Like everybody's from there in my family, and I feel like everybody fucking talks like that.
Mm-hmm.
I hope one day someone asks me to try to sell them a pen.
It ends up being him.
I love they picked New Zealand as the play. The guy's like, he's like, well, it's a nice pen. It's a nice pen, and he's like, just takes it from him.
Mm-hmm.
You can write down thoughts from your life.
In a movie full of weird shit, that scene where Jordan Belfort gets hit on by his wife's English aunt is probably the weirdest.
Was it Jordan Belfort that wrote this one? Because if it was Aunt Emma, she would have been like, that scene where Jordan's hitting on me is probably the weirdest one.
That's actually Jordan Belfort's all that made that review. But anyway, those are Letterboxd one-liners for Wolf of Wall Street. Please follow the show on our Letterboxd HQ account at Movie Night Extra. We are logging all of the various episodes of the movies that we do on this very show there, and all other sorts of good stuff. The Stratton Oakmont phone dialer over there, Forrest, your host, at Always Flacco, is always logging the stuff that we're doing here, as well as many others. I am the Senior Vice President at Conan Neutron, doing that highbrow, middlebrow, populist fare, everything in between. Follow me along for the Criterion Challenge at Conan Neutron. I'm all over there. The Duchess of Bay Ridge. Oh my God, I'm going to dislocate something doing this. And people on podcasts like, what's he talking about? She's Adam Kristina on Letterboxd, logging stuff when it pleases her and not at all any other time. J. Andrew World is at right about now too. He's also Cocaine Decisions. Boy, is that an accurate title. Boy, he's watching all the weirdest stuff, so you don't have to. Maybe so you can. It's not for me to say. I'm just calling balls and strikes like a Supreme Court justice. Too soon? And anyway, and you can follow him at right about now too on Letterboxd. I do not believe Benjamin Dixon has time for a Letterboxd account. But correct me if I'm wrong. It's not peer pressure. I just want.
I don't even know what is Letterboxd.
Beautiful. I have no notes.
It's a social media app where you log films that you watch. It's pretty.
Sam Senior even was like, "What's Letterboxd?" when he came on the first time.
Which I feel like I do introduce that in the bit, but there's so much words that are being said, and there's like kind of an onomatopoeia to it. Like it's kind of hard to. Anyway, like I said, it's not peer pressure. Anyway, let's hear a word from our sponsor, and then we'll hit it with the.
I'll check it out.
Right, look, man, you already know like 4 great people you can follow.
They got a sponsor. They got a sponsor us one day.
I feel that's the thing. It's not tacit peer pressure. I'm just like, I don't want to omit you if it's not, if you have one. I don't know. Anyway,
most of the time I'm oblivious to peer pressure anyway, so I don't even know what's going on right now. No.
You're the one guy that the drug dealer in the Dare commercials came up to and is like offering it, and you're like, I don't know, I don't.
The camera doesn't want to cooperate.
This is great visual humor. He's going, that's the off-air symbol. It's a color code. So let's hear a word from our sponsor, and then we'll hit it with the plugs.
Our real sponsor, not Letterboxd.
Not Letterboxd.
Tonight's podcast is brought to you by Yebiga, a Balkan Rakia Spirit plum brandy that brings Serbia to the American shores in an authentic and appreciative way. Care of Billy Gould, bassist for Faith No More, and Rakia Appreciator. Rakia is a traditional spirit enjoyed at weddings, funerals, and life events. However, more and more it's being enjoyed everywhere on a night out with friends or as a casual drink. Get a bottle today in liquor stores and bars across America. Go to yabiga.com to see where it's available near you.
All right. Cocaine Decisions, J. Andrew World. Let's make do with the plugs, why don't we?
All right. Go. If you're watching us on YouTube, please do those YouTube things. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. Of course, the big ask is to watch the video to the end. That allows the algorithm to let us be found by other movie fans. And that allows you to hear that great Conan Neutron song that's he recorded special just for this month.
That's right. First one with words. Ever.
Yes. Well, ever?
Well, no, I
for,
mean,
for this show, yeah. I mean, not for
Well,
my
no, I
music.
mean the other one says movie night extravaganza on it.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah, I guess
all
it does.
time,
Never
yeah. Come on, you were doing
Wow,
so good with the
Conan.
taste. You were
He was
doing
doing
so
so
good.
well.
Here we go. Watch us on if you're watching us on Twitch, please do the Twitch things, throw us a sub. If you happen to have an Amazon Prime account, you can subscribe for free. Doesn't cost you anything, but greatly helps out the show. We thank you for doing all that stuff. Find us on social media. We're on Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. So follow us there. Say hi. We'll respond. You know, we're nice that way. So go ahead, do that. We have a Discord, so hop on our Discord. We've been doing movies. You know, we've been showing movies.
Yeah,
Take two.
Mondays.
Yes,
No, on Mondays we show movies. Yeah.
yes.
We've been doing the movies.
the
It's crazy.
watch parties. That's the words I was looking for. I should have wrote that down on my notes. It just says link in description.
Is that to your OnlyFans? What's happening?
Those are my notes for Discord. Link in
Link in
description.
the bio.
Oh my God, Andy, what the? You really? I tweeted about something. You literally tweeted out "pussy in bio" with a pussy in bio.
Hey, did I do that?
They're
We
actually
were doing so well.
they're actually evolving now. Now they do the AI art, and it's like a woman's tits, and it says "in the pussy and bio" across her. And I don't know how, you know. But yeah, come on.
All right.
I can't say I miss Twitter. Anyway, go ahead.
We have a Patreon. We have a Patreon, and of course, that leads to we have access to after parties, which I don't recall a conversation about tonight. If we're doing one,
I mean, I have one. Like,
Okay.
I'll send the link.
Friends, stick around. We have fun.
Okay.
No,
Yeah, the rest of this has been joyless slog, but we have fun in the after parties.
No, we do like a more freeform after party where we
It's a
talk
free
about-
form. Yeah.
yeah. And also, if you have any other thoughts about the film that you didn't quite get out, but
Well, that was
When
that
I
was
produce the
impressive, I
shows,
felt.
when I produce the shows, I usually mention this in advance. But sure, let's mention in the bits for the plug. Sure, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you know.
Oh,
whatever.
that's my fault that I didn't do that before the show to verify. But if you if you subscribe to our Patreon, you can have access to our past after parties, and you can see all kinds of zany stuff. I kind of want to revisit our Muppet Show after party because I just
'cause you
watched
just saw
Great
a
Muppet
Muppet
Caper
movie,
today.
sure.
So
Yeah.
there we go. One thing you can do. And of course, Conan Neutron's been sitting up there with his backside saying protonic reversal.
A backside.
His backdrop.
It's going across.
Those are very different things.
It says pussy and bio behind him.
He has a tramp stamp that says protonic reversal as well, but we don't talk about that. And yeah, no, protonic reversal is his music interview show, which is fantastic and has had some. You've been knocking it out of the park recently with guests. Yeah.
Buzz Osborne from Melvin's that just went
See,
up
right
into
there.
the free feed. Ryan Patterson of Coliseum goes up tomorrow, and Rick Sims of the Digits on Friday. And I just had a show with Roger Clark Miller of Missioner Burma from your neck of the woods, Andy, on Monday. Who again I found out in show is doing a live score to Cabinet of Dr. Caligari at the Milwaukee Film Fest that I'm now going to go to on Thursday. So there you go. The system works.
Yes, apparently so.
ProtonicReversal.com. Advanced episodes, $1 a month. Patreon.com/ProtonicReversal. Yeah, all that stuff. Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. Yo, 10-year show is next week. What am I
Oh
going
my
to do? I don't know. Jules Holland. Really? I guess Jules Holland's kind of cool. I don't know.
All right. And
Anyway.
of course, if you want to check out more of Conan's music, if you're digging what you're hearing in the opening credits,
It doesn't sound anything like that.
it doesn't sound anything like that. No, but there's more music out there you can find, and you can check out his band Conan Neutron and Secret Friends, who is about to go on tour again.
Yep. in like 4 weeks.
And of course, you can get music at neutronfriends.bandcamp.com.
Absolutely. Adult Prom is the latest record, split with Lung, and I don't have the flyer right now, but Milwaukee, Madison, Louisville, Cincinnati,
Whoa.
Sioux City, all kinds of stuff. We're playing shows in the Midwest, people. NeutronFriends.bandcamp.com. Thank you.
And then heading up towards Caterwaull, your
That's
big
right.
festival.
That I actually have, which it's going to look great because it's tiny font. But yeah, 43 bands in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Memorial Day, the 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th of May. And I think that people from this show are going to be there too. So we do.
I had fun last year, and I hope I can make it again this year.
And he's gonna sell you this pen.
Yeah, I will be.
Here's the tour poster I found.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're playing with Brainiac and Part Chimp, and yeah, it's gonna be great. Whatever. Find your local internet. Look it up.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
And of course, I still just want to mention, because it's still fairly recent, and I don't know if everybody's checked it out, the Third Gear Scratch podcast with Alan Epsey of Shiner.
Etsy.
Epley. I'm sorry.
Alan Etsy. That's
honestly,
like his crafty brother, I guess. I don't know.
I need bifocals, and I'm trying to read this thing with these bad prescriptions.
All right.
Yes, I was on Alan Eppley's great show, Third Gear Scratch, and that was a good conversation. And also, I guess we should mention, me and Jason Miles have been doing these Pop Life episodes where we examine the music of a certain year every 2 weeks or so, and just talk about records that came out that year. And there's a lot of fun, and people are getting a lot out of it. We said one for 1984. We did 1979 and 1983. I think it's the 60s next. I don't remember which one though.
Ooh.
So I think 68, 69. I can't remember.
Ooh.
But they're a lot of fun if you enjoy chiming in on stuff that we didn't talk about in the comments, especially. But anyway, my buddy Jason Miles, still just under the Pop Life umbrella awning. I don't know what you call it, but thank you. Anyway, moving on. Next.
Yeah. Kristina is over there, also streaming on Twitch. I think right now too, I believe.
Yes.
And
So
this is odd for
on
our
our
viewers.
Twitch are gonna go, whoa, you're streaming somewhere else too.
Yeah. But yeah, you can find, if you're enjoying Kristina and her great commentary, you can absolutely check her out on Twitch. And I believe you said you're on YouTube now as well.
Yeah, but also too, I've been doing the TikTok, and apparently, if you want to get views as a small time creator, just stitch pearly things, and you get 500,000 views, and people agreeing with you, and then asking you, "Where's your husband at?" And I'm like, "Oh God, hey, do you have Pearl's number? I think she's hot." And I'm like, "I don't know. Hit her up. She's probably desperate for a husband." I don't know.
Kristina, you're gonna be the next Andrew Tate.
You're the next Alan Etsy. Extreme callback. Thank you. That was the last plug.
There we go. And of course, if you want to support her show, go check out patreon.com/cosmopolitics. And you
Also,
can.
Someone commented like, "Wow, she's receiving more pushback than your hairline." And I'm like, "Amen to that."
Wow.
I thought that was funny though. I was like, "Yeah, dude, that's right."
Shit's getting real.
Yeah.
When people insult me, I'm like, "You got that right."
But yes, give Kristina money.
Yes.
In summation, yes.
Yes.
And Ben Dixon's over there in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a great little show. I don't listen to it as much as I used to listen to other podcasts, but
I don't.
Wow,
What?
did you
Why
say,
was it?
Andy? Jesus Christ!
Why did you feel the need to add that caveat? What are you doing?
Well, no, it's fine because I don't do it as much as I used to do it.
Okay.
So
All right,
I haven't, so he hasn't missed anything. He hasn't missed anything.
Okay.
Man threw you a life preserver.
You
So.
see, I was a little worried there because, I was hoping I wasn't missing something, but apparently the news is I'm not.
No. I've taken a little
What a
break
bit.
from the podcast, mainly because of October 7th and everything that's happened to the Palestinian people afterwards. I just couldn't do the coverage. It was too much for me. So, but there are a lot of exciting things coming up soon. So stay tuned.
You're tweeting
All
out
right.
bangers too, by the way.
Yeah. We're getting a little edgy out there, but yeah, we're doing what we got to do. But thank you.
Well, we're not like Hassan tweeting out like an actual gun at Tom Cotton yet, but like
Right.
That's for the after party.
And you were the first person to ever get one of my tweets put in a fucking online publication because USA Today when we put that they like reposted
that was your
Eli,
image.
they reposted you reposting my thing on USA Today, but then they wouldn't show it. Oh, we can talk about that at the after party, but
Yeah, for sure. No, that was an interesting story. A lot behind that. Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's Ben's favorite movie Jules asked in the comments.
Oh man, that's
sociopathic questioning, by the way.
That's
One
hard.
movie.
I
Come
can't
on.
even answer that. Yeah.
Sorry. Peace and love to our commenters, but that's
You'd
unfair.
have to ask
5
me
is
categories.
hard.
You'd have to ask
Yeah,
me
yeah.
categories, and I might come in. Harlem Night. If I had to just pull one, Harlem Nights.
Okay.
Oh,
That's a really good.
I would love for you to come back on and talk about that show, that movie,
absolutely. Love
because
to,
it's been a minute since I've seen that.
Oh yeah, I used to. I try. There are periods in my life where I try not to cuss, and I found a correlation between how much I cuss and how much I watch Harlem Nights.
It's like watching Deadwood or something,
But yeah, I think we're done with the plugs, right?
Yeah, I don't think I have any plugs.
All right, Ben, do you have some final thoughts? Anything we didn't touch on really quick?
No, man, I think you guys. I like the methodology of fleshing out the movies the way you guys do. I'm gonna learn from it. So I got nothing else to add. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Kristina, final thoughts.
I feel like this movie is a masterpiece. It really is a good companion piece to Goodfellas for like white collar folks. I do feel like people miss, mostly men, no offense, not all men, but men kind of miss the point of the movie.
Hashtag not all men. Yeah,
yes, it came out at the right time.
Another thing she came up with.
Right.
Yes, it came out at the right time. I highly recommend it. If you're Gen Z, you're not gonna be, or Gen Alpha, you're not gonna be able to handle this movie.
Well, yeah, especially not if you're Gen Out. Aren't they like 13?
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to handle all this. Like, but there are 25-year-olds who are like, no sex in movies, ew, gross, no point. So yeah, if you're under like 30, you can't handle this movie.
But then Andy and I saw RoboCop at a very young age, dude. I mean, not together, but
I
like
saw Titanic when I was 3. I saw Kate Winslet's boobs. Like, it was fine.
I was gonna say just more disappointing sex in movies. but Andy, final thoughts.
Our man was a 2-pump chump. Thank you.
He pump and dumped.
Yeah, this is.
Come on.
Yeah, there we go. I was waiting for that all show.
It's almost time for the after party. You almost made it. You almost made it, man.
Yeah. I gotta say, I love a great satire, and that's pretty much what this is a great satire. I love the fact that we didn't talk about how these stairs just kept getting longer and longer. That
right, yeah.
Like there's 6 steps, and then as Leonardo DiCaprio is looking at it, there's more and more steps. And then he rolls down it, and it's 6 steps. And you see him rolling down 30 steps, and then he gets to the bottom, and there's just 6 there. It's great. It's just
that would I think out of all scenes that I would want to see one of those anatomy of a scene things that they do for some of those I don't know if it's New York Times or whatever they break the scene down. I'd want to see one of those for that scene just for the steps part.
Yes.
But Conan, final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean this movie's basically bottled id. Hilarious debauchery, not cool guys to be emulated, to be clear. But as far as, pseudo aspirational strip mining of the working class, an excellent farce. And as Andy sort of alluded to, great depiction of interpretation versus reality, top to bottom. Great filmmaking. And I think it rewards multiple views as well.
All right. We're going to be in the after party, but for now.
Get the money, the money. We want the money.